My name is Max, the Technical Support Associate at Doability, the makers of SurveyCTO. We recently released a new field plugin called Timed Categories, which displays choices in columns instead of rows. The field can be timed, and it will auto-advance to the next field when time runs out, meaning the respondent has to make quick decisions when filling out the form. This can be great for implicit association tests, opening a whole new opportunity in data collection. In this webinar, we will discuss the Timed Categories field plugin, including how to set it up, how to use it, and how to customize it. At the end of this webinar, we will have a Q&A. So if you have questions on anything we've discussed, post it using the Q&A feature in Zoom, which you can find at the bottom of the Zoom window, and we will get to it at the end. I will answer questions about the field plugin out loud, and my colleague, Marta, will answer other questions about SurveyCTO in the Q&A window. Feel free to post your questions to the Q&A as you think of them, and we will answer them at the end. If I am speaking too quickly, you can use the Zoom chat to ask me to slow down. At the end, I will share with you a list of resources so you can learn more about the features we have discussed, as well as a feedback form so we can get your thoughts on this webinar. We are also recording this webinar. That recording without the Q&A will be posted to the SurveyCTO blog within the next few days or so you'll be able to rewatch this at any time. We will start by talking about what field plugins are and how they can be useful. Then we will talk about what implicit association tests are and why they are important. Next, we will talk about the Timed Categories SurveyCTO field plugin, which you can use to create association tests. Then we will discuss how to set up and use that field plugin. Finally, we'll talk about some additional customizations you can perform on the field plugin to suit your needs. Field plugins are tools you can add to fields to change their appearance, behavior, and functionality. For example, on the right, we have a screenshot of one of our more basic field plugins, the Extra Buttons field plugin. In text fields, integer fields, and decimal fields, it is common to have pre-chosen values that are entered if the respondent does not know the answer or refuses to answer, such as entering -88 if the respondent does not know the answer to a question. With the Extra Buttons field plugin, instead of needing to manually enter that code, you can add additional buttons that the enumerator can press, making data collection a lot easier. Field plugins also often take parameters you can use to further customize it to your needs. For example, in the Extra Buttons field plugin, you can use the parameters to define what buttons should appear in the field. We have lots of ready-made field plugins you can use in your forms, so be sure to check out our field plugin catalog for a full list where you can find field plugins that can time fields, search and filter lists, and so much more. You can also design your own field plugins to suit your needs. Later, I will send you a list of links you can use to learn more about field plugins. Implicit association tests, or IAT for short, are psychological tests where a respondent must quickly categorize a word or phrase without thinking, showing their unconscious beliefs. For example, on the right, we have an IAT that tests whether the respondent knows if that plant is a fruit or a vegetable. Implicit association tests give respondents only a few seconds to answer, so you get a good idea of what people think unconsciously, not the answer they would give if they really thought about it. This is a more basic example, but IATs usually test for people's unconscious thoughts on race, politics, and more controversial subjects. You can perform implicit association tests in SurveyCTO using the Timed Categories field plugin. With this field plugin, if the respondent does not respond in time, it will automatically move on to the next field, and the field plugin will mark that field as passed. The respondent can select a choice either by tapping the choice column they want to select, or if they are on a desktop computer, by pressing the corresponding keyboard key. For example, on this page, the left column has an E beneath the fruit label, and the right column has an I beneath the vegetable label. This means the respondent can select fruit by pressing the E key, or select vegetable by pressing the I key. If time runs out before the respondent can select a choice, the pass choice will be automatically selected, showing the respondent did not select a choice in time. We will demonstrate how to set this up later. The screenshot shown here demonstrates the field plugin in a web form on a mobile device. So all you have to do is send the respondent the link to the form, they'll open it, they can select choices by tapping on the corresponding column right from their mobile web browser. You can set up this field plugin like you would any other field plugin. Let's demonstrate how to set up a field for an implicit association test. Here I have a blank form. I'm using the online form designer for demonstration purposes. We can absolutely use a form definition spreadsheet instead. I'll click Add your first field or group. For the field label, I will simply make it apple. So the respondent has to answer whether or not an apple is a fruit or a vegetable. This field plugin is for select one fields. So I'll click select one. The initial setup is complete, so I'll click configure. This field stores an IAT response. So for the name, its unique identifier, I'll call it IAT res, short for IAT response. Let's add our choice list. Up here, I'll select create a new choice list. And I'll call this choice list fruit underscore veg. With a timed categories field plugin, choices in the choice list will be columns in the field. The label of the choice will be the visible name of the choice, and the value will be what keyboard key the respondent can press to select it, as well as the value that is saved when that choice is selected. I'll give the first choice the label fruit, so the enumerator knows to select this choice when they want to categorize the crop as a fruit. I will give this choice a value of lowercase e. That way, when the E key is pressed on the keyboard, then the choice fruit will be automatically selected. I'll click save, and the choice is saved. Let's add another choice. I'll click add choice. For the choice label, I'll say vegetable. For the choice value, I'll make it lowercase I. That way, when the respondent presses the I key on the keyboard, then this choice will be automatically selected. I'll click save to save this choice. We have our two main choices, but there's one more choice we have to add. In this field plugin, the last choice in the choice list will be automatically hidden from the respondent, but it will be automatically selected if time runs out before a choice is selected. I'll click add choice. And since this choice won't be visible to the respondent, the choice label doesn't really matter. So I'll just call it pass. For the choice value, I'll make it 0. That way, when analyzing the data, if the field has a value of 0, the data analyst knows that means time ran out before the respondent could decide on a choice. I'll save this choice. We have our choice list. Now let's attach the field plugin to this field. You can view a list of all field plugins in our field plugin catalog. Go to the URL support.surveycto.com. On that page, in the search bar, search for field plugins. And a list of all support articles related to field plugins will appear. We want the field plugin catalog, so I'll click that one. We want the field plugin meant for implicit association tests. So I'll press Command F or Control F on Windows and search for implicit. And here's the field plugin for implicit association tests called timed categories. I can simply click this link here to download the field plugin. And it is now downloaded to my computer. Later, I recommend clicking on the documentation link to learn more about the field plugin. The field plugin has now been downloaded to my computer, so I can now add it to our form. I'll scroll down, click More Options. Under Other Options, under Appearance, I'll select Use a field plugin to render this field. In the drop-down menu that appears, I'll select Add New Field Plugin. From here, I can drag and drop the field plugin from my computer to this box here. And now the field plugin has been automatically attached to this field. The timed categories field plugin will now be used for this field. I will leave the field plugin parameters blank for now, but we'll get back to that later. The field has now been set up. I'll click Save Now to save this field. And I'll click Save and Save as a draft to save what I have so far in the form. All right, I now have a form that uses the timed categories field plugin. Let's give it a try. I'll click the toggle switch up here to switch to the test view. When I go forward in the form, I can see the field I created with the field plugin applied. At the top, we have the field label, which shows the name of the crop, and below that, There is the column for the first two choices, fruit and vegetable. If I click one of those columns, it will be selected and then automatically advance. I can also use my keyboard keys to select a choice. I'll press the I key on my keyboard and it automatically selects vegetable. All right, the form looks really good so far, but for a real implicit association test, the field needs to be timed. Let's go back and improve the field so it is timed. I'll click the toggle switch in the upper right to return to the online form designer. I'll go to the field we added before and click the edit button here. I'll scroll down and go back to the plugin parameters box we skipped before. Most field plugins have plugin parameters you can use to customize the field plugin. This field plugin has a parameter called duration that defines how long the field should be shown before it auto advances. I want the field to be shown for 5 seconds before it auto advances. So in this box, I'll say duration equals 5. The field will now auto advance after 5 seconds. Let's save the field, then save the form. Let's test the form to make sure it works well. So I'll click the toggle switch up here. The orange bar at the bottom means the form has been updated, so I'll click it. I don't need to use the data I already entered, so I'll click Don't Save, and the form will reload with a new version. All right, we're back at the beginning, so I'll go to the first field, and there is now a timer. When the timer runs out, it automatically advances to the next field. I can still click on a choice or press its keyboard key to select it, but if I don't select a choice in time, it moves on to the next field. That was a basic demonstration of the timed categories field plugin. For a more comprehensive version, check out the field plugin documentation where you can find a sample form that repeats the IAT field multiple times, retrieves different crop names from a preloaded set of data, randomizes the order of the crops, and so much more. This field plugin has several parameters, but 3 of them are by far the most common. The duration parameter, which we demonstrated on the last slide, defines how long in seconds the field should be shown on screen before marking that field as passed and moving on to the next field. The unit parameter defines the display unit of the time. For example, if you set the unit to milliseconds, which is thousandths of a second, and the duration is set to 5, then the timer will start at 5,000 and count down to 0 over 5 seconds. The correct parameter defines which choice is the correct choice. While filling out the form, if the correct choice is selected, then the choice will turn green and a check mark will appear as shown in this screenshot. If the wrong choice is selected, then the choice will turn red and an X will appear. For example, if the correct parameter has a value of E, which is the choice value of the choice fruit, will turn green when it is selected. However, if the choice of vegetable is selected instead, then it will turn red. The field will also keep track of whether or not the correct choice was selected, which you can learn more about in the documentation. There are several more parameters that are less common used to customize the field plugin. You can use them to hide the keyboard keys, only allow keyboard keys to select a response, only allow tapping to select a response, and so much more. Be sure to check out the documentation for a list of all parameters you can use to customize the field plugin. Another way to customize the field plugin is to change the field plugin source files. Even if you have never designed a field plugin before, you can still make small adjustments to suit the needs of your project. For example, normally the timer circle is blue with a certain number size, but you could adjust the field plugin to make the circle a different color, make the number bigger or smaller, or implement pretty much any other adjustment you would like to make. Let's take a look at an example. I'm going to set the time on the timer to 999 seconds, so it won't auto advance on us too soon. Currently, the circle around the timer is blue, but let's make it a different color. First, you need to select the color you would like to use. To really customize the color, you can use a hexadecimal color code, which is a 6-character code representing a color. There are lots of color pickers out there you could use to generate a hexadecimal color code. I'm personally more partial to the Google color picker, but you can use whatever works best for you. Here we have a color picker. I can slide these buttons around until I find the color I want to use. If you look down here, there is a hash sign followed by 6-character code. That is the code representing the color on screen. I'll select this shade of green. Once I find the right color, I'll click the copy button here to copy the code to my clipboard. Okay, we have the color, so it's time to update the field plugin. Here's the field plugin file, which you can attach to your form to use the field plugin in your form. A field plugin file is really a zip file containing files defining the field plugin. Let's extract the files. On Mac, you can simply double-click the zip file to extract the files into a folder. On Windows, right-click the file, click Extract All, and follow the steps on screen. Once you have the folder containing the files, open that folder. Here, we have the files that define the field plugin. The style of the field plugin, such as colors, sizes, and more, are defined in the style.css file. I'll open that file. There's a lot here, and it seems complicated, so let's break it down. Each one of the groups you see on screen defines a different part of the field plugin. Let's scroll down to where it says timer circle. If you see text between /* and a */, that is a comment and is not really part of the file. It is just there so it is easier to navigate and understand the file. In this comment, I've labeled this group timer circle so you can easily see where the style for the timer circle is defined. Within this group, called a rule, there is a row called a declaration that says the stroke is set to this color. This is where the color of the timer circle is defined. Currently, it is set to a shade of blue. Let's get rid of the color code that is already there. And I'll paste in the code for the shade of green we copied earlier. This will make the timer circle that shade of green. I'll save my changes. Let's test it out, which you can do from the form test view. First, I'll select all of the text here and copy it. Now, let's go back to the test view. Here's that field from before. On the left, if you click this button, it will open the field plugin console, which can be used to make testing a lot easier. Down here, there is a module for each of the 3 main files: HTML for the template.html file, CSS for the style.css file, and JS for the script.js file. Each of them stores the content of each file, and we can edit each one to test changes. We just edited the style.css file, so we'll go to the CSS module. I can click into the blue box, select all of its content, and paste in what we copied from the edited file from before. Now that that is updated, I'll scroll up and click the reload button. Keep an eye on the timer circle as I click this button. The timer circle changed from blue to green. We were able to test that change right from the field plugin console. Once we are satisfied with our changes, we can create a new field plugin. First, we need to update the field plugin version. To do that, open the manifest.json file, which defines metadata about the field plugin, such as its name and version number. In that file, to the right of version, increase the version number. As of this recording, the timed categories field plugin is on version 1.0.2. So I'll update it to 1.0.3 and save my changes. Now that our field plugin source files are all set, it's time to recreate the field plugin file. First, let's get the name of the original field plugin file. I'll click the file, then click the highlighted name so the name is editable. I'll select the text and copy it. I now have the name of the field plugin file. Go to the folder that contains all of the field plugin files and select all of them. Then right-click that selection And the exact process will depend on your computer, but there should be an option to compress the files into a zip file. Select that option. We now have our field plugin file, but it has the wrong name. Luckily, we copied the file name from before. So I'll select this file, and then I'll click it again so I can edit the name. And I'll paste in the field plugin file name we copied earlier. Make sure it ends in .fieldplugin.zip. We now have our field plugin file. Let's attach it to our form. There are several ways to attach files to your form, and I'll show you one. Let's go back to the test view. I'll click this toggle switch up here to go to the online form designer. Then I'll click Form Settings, then Manage Attachments. If you look at the version of the field plugin that is already here, it's currently on version 1.0.2. I'll click Attach Files, and I'll drag and drop over the new field plugin file. It has now been attached. Notice how the field plugin version has been updated to 1.0.3. I'll click Save to save the attachments. Then I'll click Save and Deploy. Once this pop-up appears, it means the new version of the field plugin has been deployed. Now, whenever a user downloads this form, when they get to the field plugin, the timer circle will be green instead of blue. This was just one example of a change you can make where you can change just about anything in the field plugin. Check out the field plugin documentation for tips on how to make changes. Lastly, before we move on to the Q&A, I would like to tell you about the next event in our webinar series, which will be on how 2 organizations are using audio computer-assisted self-interviewing, or ACASI, to reduce social desirability bias in modern slavery studies. You can take a look at our blog now where you can register for this webinar.